Wemby, the Spurs ended a 6-year playoff drought this season, and you now make the Western Conference Finals for the first time since 2017. I know you were soaking it all in, but what does this moment represent for you?
Man, the words conference finals just seem surreal right now. It's like something I heard my whole life, and now we're in it. It's kind of unreal. But at the end of the day, it's just basketball. We know what we got to do.
Hey, Wemby told us we don't have experience, but we don't care. And it's showing up. The Spurs starters have played in 56 playoff games combined. Timberwolves starters have played in 249. And I don't know if that's what you would think if you watched that first half. Still a long way to go. Yeah, still a long way to go.
Babies.
All right, time for Court Connection, presented by AT&T. Keldon Johnson here, lobbing it up. I mean, unfair.
He's just standing.
Just set me.
Yeah, just put it up there anywhere. I'll go get it.
The Spurs are up by 13 in Game 6. The half presented by AT&T continues after this. Right, big Game 6 tonight. In Game 5, Wemby had a monster first quarter with 18 points on his way to a game-high 27 with 17 rebounds, 5 assists. The rookie, Dylan Harper, came through with 12 points and 10 rebounds off the bench. It was tied with just under 8 minutes left in the third, and the Spurs outscored Minnesota by 29 the rest of the way to take a 3-2 series lead. In Game 5 was the Spurs' second 25-point win of the series. What stood out to you in that victory, Steve?
Well, I was incredibly impressed with the Spurs guards. You know, Fox, Castle, Harper. To sum it up, they just got to their rim whenever they wanted to. Forceful downhill drives. I think it's going to be a real decision here for Minnesota. I think traditionally they like to stay home and let Rudy clean up a lot of that stuff. But in transition especially, they got to build a wall and keep these guys out of the paint. You know, if they don't, then Rudy's got to come, and guess who's following up on the glass? It's Wemby, who's got skill and feet and athleticism. So I really think they got to stop this before they get too deep, maybe even come off shooters in the half court, not allow them to get to the rim so often where then Wemby's on the glass or shooters are getting opportunities.
By the way, Dylan Harper, the first Spur since Manu to have multiple 20-point games off the bench in a postseason, BG.
Yeah, he's been incredibly impressive. And like Steve said, all of their guards offensively are so poised and are making great decisions. But what's really impressed me is them on defense. They do such a good job of slowing down the ball, applying pressure, full court. You know, it's interesting for such a young team and a young group of guards. They can hurt you with speed on one end, and then they can hurt you with physicality on the other end. And that's usually not a combination you're getting from a group of young guards. So I think they've been special on both ends, but defensively I've been very, very impressed of their ability to just lock into game plans and provide that first point of attack. And then you have Wemby behind you to clean up everything else. But they definitely make his job easier with the amount of pressure they put on, and he makes their job easier.
Well, a little bit of everything went wrong for the Timberwolves in Game 5. I mean, bad start, foul trouble, not enough from Randall, from Gobert, physicality. I mean, what adjustment does Minnesota need tonight, UD?
I mean, first and foremost, to me, to be the team that have been to the conference finals back-to-back years, San Antonio seems to be the most poised and mature team in this series. When I watch the fouls and some of the fouls that McDaniels are creating, every time after the play, Naz Reid has something to say to the referee. Coach Finch about to square off with the official. Like, listen, keep the game within the game, because the game within the game is where you're getting dominated. Right now, the point paints are plus 76 for the Spurs in this series, plus 61 in fast break points in this series. Right here, Jaden McDaniels gets this shot. This is just a bad foul. Right now, at this time, it's down. It's 64-61. You're down 3. It went completely downhill after he went out the game. I understand your frustration because the Wemby impact is real. You got 41% of your points in the paint on dunks and layups last series. You're at 23% right now, so the Wemby impact is real. But what you bring to that team is too important. Anger, not managed right, is a boomerang. It's coming right back at you. So if you don't
talk to him.
Anger not managed right is a boomerang.
Write that one down.
Yeah, if you don't manage that anger right and put that in the court and put that on your court for your team, then it's going to hurt you. And it's hurting Jaden McDaniels right now, and you're hurting your team, kid.
Yeah, you want to follow that up?
Yeah, I got nothing to say, but...
All 5 Spurs starters scored in double figures, led by Stephon Castle, who joined Tim Duncan, David Robinson, George Gervin, and Manu Ginobili as the only Spurs with 30, 10, and 5 in a playoff game. All right, so the Spurs in Wemby's first postseason experience are through to the conference finals. How impressive has this run been for them, DeAndre?
I think it's been huge.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about, like you said yesterday, everybody talks about age, and they may be too young for this moment, but you got to remember that these guys are hungry. They work extremely hard. They're well coached. And let's not forget they have veterans on their team that are guiding. They have guys like Harrison Barnes and Mason Plumlee, Bismack Biyombo, they Kelly Olynyk. They have guys.
Fox ain't no baby.
Right, yeah.
He been running around for a while now.
Exactly. Luke Cornett won a championship with Boston a few years ago. So they have guys who know how to play. They know what it takes to get to this moment, and it's showing. They're peaking at the right time.
To piggyback that, their veterans can still give them real minutes.
Exactly.
That's the thing about, that makes them so dynamic. It's like, yes, their young talent is phenomenal. Like, these guys can hoop. But all of those guys that you just named can get into a game and give them minutes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the, when you got that going with your mixture of youth and veteran, you really got something there. And, I mean, what we're watching, I've never cared about their age from the beginning. Like, I know good basketball when I see it, and them dudes was playing good basketball all year. And when they went on that stretch, what was it, 29-2 or something like that?
Insane.
It was like how they were beating people was mature.
Composed, if you will.
It was not a immature approach to the game. They were really chasing after that number one seed, putting a ton of pressure on OKC to win games because I think they were 2 games back for like a while where OKC wasn't giving it up. So this is going to be an awesome conference finals.
On the other side of this, though, Anthony Edwards and Minnesota's season comes to an end in a 30-point blowout. But this series was competitive. I certainly didn't think it was going to come to 6 games. All right, so here's what's next for us. Looking ahead at the West Finals, the top 2 seeds will face each other as many expected. The Spurs and Thunder played 5 times this season, with San Antonio winning 4 of those 5. The Spurs had a statistical advantage, but OKC hasn't lost a game yet this postseason. All right, early read on this series, other than I just got my popcorn ready, DeAndre. That's it.
I'm hoping it goes 7. This is probably going to be what people are going to say is going to be the championship. And that's no disrespect to the team.
No. Right.
I think that, these teams have probably been playing some of the best basketball throughout the entire season. They've both been ready. They're young teams up and coming, and you see that same thing in Detroit. But I think that OKC is looking to defend their championship, and San Antonio is looking to challenge them for it. And I think that, this is going to be must-see basketball. I'm hoping it's a long, drawn-out series.
The drama, because you got to admit the Spurs handled them during the regular season. And, I do like the McCain move and getting more guard play around Shai to match up with all of those guards for the Spurs. So that's going to be really interesting. I really do think that series comes down to 2 guys for OKC. And I said this before. Alex Caruso, Chet Holmgren. Chet's got to play at a level comparable, where it's not just Wemby just dominates him.
Right.
He has to play at an all-star, somewhere near all-star level, and Caruso got to make shots, and Wemby's hiding.
Yes.
The biz.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Puppies. Young pups.
Fierce ones, though. All right, hey, we'll hear from Steph Castle next on the Association postgame. More coverage for you right here. Don't go anywhere.
Spurs can close it out on the road. And the Timberwolves now at home trying to stay alive, kind of a flip of what we just talked about. And Victor Wembanyama, coming off of his game in which he was ejected, was so dominant and so terrific in 18 first quarter points. So I'm going to ask you a question I'm assuming you don't know the answer to, which is not my usual style, but he comes off the plane landing in San Antonio, and the first person apparently he sees waiting for him to talk with him is Greg Popovich. You want to take a stab at what you think Pop told him, Chris?
Well, I've known Popovich a long time. He was my assistant coach as a rookie under Don Nelson, and we've shared a friendship. The man that I know Coach Popovich to be is to hold you accountable. And hold you accountable in a space that could be uncomfortable because he wants you to understand. And then he lifts you up.
and puts a battery in your back that, it's almost like, being Tyson, with this great corner man in the corner telling you could do it or challenging you. And so I don't know what was said, but I know that, I would bet anything that one, it was an accountability aspect of it. There was a joke in between, and then it was how we're going to do this and how we're going to go forward, once we've, held ourselves accountable. Popovich is a great man, and that's why, early in the season, San Antonio was my favorite to win the championship because he's in the locker room. You don't have to have the clipboard on the sideline to have an impact. And you can feel his impact, all over San Antonio and throughout the NBA, but definitely when you look at his demeanor, how he keeps the older guys from the team around, those are his fingerprints. And because what it does is it reinforces your tenets of your organization to new players that come in. They can lean and say, hey, Tim, you've gone through this. Hey, David, hey, Sean, Elliott, they're all available. And a lot of organizations don't do that. And that's why they have no identity besides one great season or what happened last year. But the identity and the heart and soul of that team in San Antonio starts with Coach Popovich. It starts with hard work, accountability, treating your fellow man right, and and kicking some ass. And so I assume he had all those pieces of the conversation when he landed.
Well, it certainly looked like he had a battery put in him, to use your phrase, Chris. They were talking about they want to upset Vic, they want a mature Vic, and he and Wembanyama said they're not mutually exclusive. I can be both, and not to look over the steering wheel, I'm about to, but what a Western Conference Finals matchup that would be with the wagon that is Oklahoma City right now, not having lost in the playoffs just yet, Chris, right?
Yeah. I love OKC. I love how they stand together after interviews. I love, how they're self-deprecating, how they're cool with each other. So I love that team. But haven't they been setting this up all year? I mean, hasn't it been kind of OKC versus San Antonio and the passion that we've seen in those games? And even Wembanyama said earlier in the season, this is how we measure ourselves up against the best, and we want to be the best. Those are silent shots that, we know you had a crown, but we're coming for you. So I would love to see that in a round. I just think when you think about, to me, again, most people don't get the Fox dynamic. Like, everyone has a system, and the system of San Antonio is to have one of the greatest big fellas in the world and a point guard that can score and get in the paint with speed. And that's who Tony Parker was. He led the league some seasons in point paints with the Shaq, because in our league, who, is the most dominant in the paint, but he got in the paint so much because of that quagmire. Do you guard him, or do you stop the big fella from the pick and roll, or do you come in from the corners and now I can hit the corners? And so I think Fox is really going to be an important cog in this, because the speed of he and maybe the MVP again is going to be, something special. So that Gilgeous Fox matchup. And so, yeah, I can't wait. They, like you said, you can't, knock Minnesota out yet, but I can't wait to see if they get to that next round.